Shalom, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone, who teach this truth in sincerity, and a shout out to Yakim, that's out there in four quarters of the earth, proclaim this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Bracha Dum. So, I'm just going to start out with wars and rumors of wars, and first start with the Syrian Arab News Agency. And I'm going to read this article. Syrian Arab Army finds field hospital for White Helmets terrorists in the Hama countryside. As you know, that the White Helmets are very famous for putting fake videos up to institute false flags as a reason for the United States to attack Syria. Syrian Arab Army units on Monday uncovered a field hospital for White Helmets terrorists containing medical equipment, gas masks, and chemical protective equipment, some of them German-made. Syrian Arab News Agency reporter in Hama said that while canvassing Qalat al-Makuk town in northwestern Hama, a field hospital for White Helmets terrorists was found, inside of which were medical equipment, gas masks and their filters, chemical protective suits, defibrillators, surgical equipment, and other equipment. The reporter pointed out that some of that equipment is German-made. On Sunday, the Army discovered a 20-meter depth tunnel for terrorist groups in Qabat al-Madak town. So, see all the stuff, given to the White Helmets. And even leader of Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, said that you can't trust what the White Helmets tell you. And in fact, they even tried to recruit him, and Roger Waters spoke out about that too. And fix the screen here. Large number of reinforcements arrive in northwestern Hama for Syrian Arab Army push. So here's a picture there. Let me close these out to where this last adds. A large number of Syrian Arab Army reinforcements arrived in northwestern countryside of the Hama governorate today. A source from the military told Al-Masdar this afternoon. According to the source, reinforcements from all northwestern Syria were ordered to redeploy to the Hama governorate for the next Syrian Arab Army push into southern Idlib. These reinforcements could help the Syrian Arab Army advance from the key town of Nada to the nearby hilltop of Tal Shashkar and town of Al-Hubat. Over the weekend, the Syrian Army developed several units from their 7th Division to the front. Once they arrived, the Tiger forces began their push to retake Kafar Nada from Hanat Tashar al-Sham, which are the terrorist groups that Turkey is protecting. The jihadist rebels attempted to retake Kafar Nada last night, but they were ultimately repelled by the Syrian Arab Army after several hours of battle. And of course, Trump, like I said, has been trying to retract some of the things that are said, because of course that's what his handlers are telling him. Trump says U.S. not after regime change in Iran as war threats lose momentum. So, basically toning it down a bit. Let's take a look at this video here.
After U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed hope for a deal with Iran, saying that he doesn't want a regime change in the Islamic Republic.
I really believe that Iran would like to make a deal, and I think that's very smart of them.
No, they don't want to make a deal with you, devil.
Also, I'm looking to have Iran say no nuclear weapons. We have enough problems in this world right now with nuclear weapons. No nuclear weapons for Iran. And I think we'll make a deal. I think Iran has tremendous economic potential. And I look forward to letting them get back to the stage where they can show that. I think Iran, I know so many people from Iran. These are great people. It has a chance to be a great country with the same leadership. We're not looking for regime change. I just want to make that clear. We're looking for no nuclear weapons.
This was Trump's second remark in Japan about the possibility of U.S.-Iran talks. Tehran has repeatedly rejected the offer. Earlier, the U.S. president said that he and the Japanese premier discussed Iran as nobody wants to see, quote, terrible things happen. While addressing a joint press conference, the U.S. president also took a jibe at his predecessor for what he called a horrible Iran deal. He claimed that his massive economic sanctions have forced Iran to pull back from, quote, terror activities. Tensions between Tehran and Washington have risen recently after Trump's belligerent rhetoric and his troop buildup in the Persian Gulf. Recently, he threatened Iran with war. Iranian officials have repeatedly said that Tehran is not seeking a war and that it will only stand ready to defend in case of an attack. International lawyer and peace activist Barry Grossman says that Donald Trump's recent comments about Iran are a political doublespeak with the aim of winning political support at home.
His commentary on the subject of Iran to be basically political doublespeak, calculated to win him political support at home. He says the United States, or in particular his presidency, his administration, is not interested in regime change in Iran, when of course the people who make those policy decisions when it comes to Iran are on record of as saying they'll do anything they can to in effect achieve regime change. Mr. Trump also said that his primary goal in all of these sanctions which have been unleashed on Iran is to ensure that Iran doesn't develop a military nuclear capability, and he claimed that the JCPOA essentially gave Iran a free hand in very short order to have such a nuclear military capability. Certainly, every other nation that was party to the JCPOA, along with the international organization that was charged with responsibility for ensuring compliance, for ensuring that Iran was complying, were very clearly of the view that the JCPOA, in fact, prevented Iran from breaking out and developing any kind of a nuclear military capability.
Well, Iran has once again ruled out the possibility of negotiations between Tehran and Washington. In a Twitter post, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Said Abbas Araghchi said there will be no direct or indirect talks between the two countries. Araghchi, however, said that Tehran is ready to negotiate with every country in the Persian Gulf region for balanced and constructive relations based on mutual respect and interests. Araghchi is currently on a regional trip. He has visited Oman, and he's set to visit other Persian Gulf countries, including Kuwait and Qatar. Iran has repeatedly stated that Tehran will not negotiate with President Donald Trump unless Washington shows respect to the Islamic Republic.
So that's pretty much it, and this thing's going to escalate. As we know, the third woe cometh quickly, you know, and just, you know this thing's going to pop off. And if you hadn't caught my prior videos, man, it's just, I put the question up there, will World War III break out before Trump's second term? And there's a good possibility of this, because look at everything that's ramping up. And this one you wouldn't get in the mainstream, which is why they banned Press TV from, of course, YouTube. Israeli state attacks Syria's defenses in the southwest, killing soldier. So, yeah, you wouldn't even catch this report otherwise. Israeli state targets Syria's defenses in southwestern province, killing one soldier, wounding another, and destroying a military vehicle. Citing one of its reporters, the official Syrian Arab Army reported in late Monday that the regime had fired one missile against the countryside of the city of Quannata. The act of aggression targeted a military site to the east of Khan Arad at 10:21 local time. It noted, citing a military source, the Israeli state said that it had attacked a Syrian anti-aircraft position after an Israeli warplane came under fire. Well, what the fuck were they doing in Syria to begin with? These fucking goddamn gutter rats? The Reuters reported. It claimed that the aircraft had come under fire from the stronghold early in this day, and that just proves our point. These fucking goddamn gutter rats are not the real Jews. They're not the real Israelites. And I think there's a video for this.
لهذه التنظيمات الإرهابية. الأمر الآخر أعتقد أنه يتعلق بالوضع الإقليمي الدولي. الكيان الصهيوني هو جزء من المنظومة التي أرادت توتير الوضع.
This is why you don't see that on
فيما
YouTube.
يتعلق بسوريا. بالأمس استمعنا إلى تصريحات لعلاوي رئيس الوزراء العراقي السابق تحدث فيها عن وجود صواريخ أو قواعد صواريخ في الأراضي السورية طبعا، وذكر غزة بالجملة في الأراضي السورية والعراقية واللبنانية موجهة باتجاه الكيان الصهيوني وبعض المناطق الأخرى. بطبيعة الحال هذا الأمر يمكن أن يكون.
So that's what's happened. You can see it intercepting the missiles coming from the Israeli state. Continuing on with Syria, this is from South Front, reporter Allah Ibrahim, and what's going on in Syria, the things that they don't want you talking about.
On May 26, units of the Syrian Arab Army, SAA, the Tiger Forces and the National Defense Forces launched a surprise attack on the town of Kafr Nabuda in northwestern Hama, which had been recently captured by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, formerly the branch of Al-Qaeda in Syria, and its Turkish-backed allies. The attack began in the morning after a series of airstrikes by Syrian and Russian warplanes. By the evening, government troops had established full control of the town, killing at least 5 militants. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham-led forces seized Kafr Nabuda on May 22nd. Then, militants claimed that they had killed at least 50 pro-government fighters and captured several pieces of military equipment. Kafr Nabuda is the key strong point of militants in this area. The inability of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham to keep it under its control creates a threat to the western flank of militants deployed in Khan Sheikhoun, Kafr Zita and nearby settlements. SAA units seized several multiple weapons caches, including Grad rockets, tank rounds, artillery shells, mortar rounds, rocket-propelled grenades, and loads of ammunition of different calibers in Kirkuk. The SAA also discovered an underground tunnel leading to a fortified operation room in the town of Kalat al-Madik. The SAA captured Kirkuk and Kalat al-Madik earlier in May in the framework of its ongoing military operation in northern Hama. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, militant groups lost 350 fighters, 5 battle tanks, 1 infantry fighting vehicle, 27 pickup trucks, 2 vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, VBITs, and 3 rocket launchers since the start of the ongoing rout of hostilities in northwestern Hama. Clashes in the area are expected to continue. The SAA 7th Division had recently sent reinforcements, including T-55 battle tanks, BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicles, Shilka anti-aircraft vehicles, and 2 S-1 Kvastika self-propelled howitzers to the front line. A source in the 7th Division told South Front that these reinforcements could participate in future military operations against Hayat Tahrir al-Sham in the region. However, he declined to provide additional information. The Turkestan Islamic Party, TIP, and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham repelled another SAA attack on the position south of Kobani in northern Latakia. Media close to the TIP claimed that several soldiers were killed. According to sources in the 4th Division, the SAA is seeing Kobani as a high-priority target for offensive operations. Turkey has resumed its weapon supplies to mainstream Syrian rebels to help them fend off the SAA advance in northern Hama, Reuters reported on May 25th. According to the news agency, Turkey supplied the militants with dozens of armored vehicles, Grad rocket launchers, and anti-tank guided missiles, including US-made TOWs. Multiple Turkish-supplied armored vehicles were also spotted on the front line in northwestern Hama. The de-escalation efforts in the so-called Idlib zone seem to be on the vicinity of a full collapse.
South Front is a crowdfunding.
So, again, these are the things that they don't want you knowing about. While they haven't banned South Front from YouTube, they certainly have banned Press TV because they don't want you getting the information, these gutter rats. And I have more video footage from Syria. Slovak, this is not going to be in English because, of course, they really had cut it down. The Syrian Arab news agency had cut their Syria news in English, so you know, you can only get so much footage, but this will be in Arabic, so Slovak for that.
منذ قليل استهدفت طائرة حربية. ودعينا نبدأ بهذا الخبر العاجل، وهو قيام مقاتلة حربية تابعة لميليشيا النظام.
And this is what's going on in the Hamal countryside. More video footage.
طبعا القصف أسفر عن وقوع ضحايا ومصابين بين المدنيين حتى اللحظة. الحصيلة الأولية تشير إلى وقوع 4 شهداء مدنيين وأكثر من 10 جرحى. عمليات فرق الدفاع المدني على إسعافهم إلى المشافي الميدانية. طبعا هذه الحصيلة أولية، ويمكن يمكن أن تكون قابلة للارتفاع والازدياد جراء خطورة الإصابات في الذين وقعوا جراء هذا القصف. في ذات التوقيت أيضا استهدفت المقاتلة مدينة كفرنبيل أيضا بغارات جوية. أسفر القصف أيضا عن وقوع إصابات بين المدنيين ودمار في منازل المدنيين وممتلكاتهم. طبعا يشهد وياتي هذا القصف ضمن تصعيد تشهده محافظة إدلب من القصف بالطيران الحربي والمروحي، حيث تعرضت ايضا بلدة الشيخ مصطفى للقصف بالبراميل المتفجرة، ما يسفر عن دمار في منازل المدنيين وممتلكاتهم. الى ذلك ايضا تعرضت مناطق باتنتا وخان شيخون والهبيط ايضا للقصف مكثف جدا من قبل الطائرات الحربيه والمروحيه التي شنت غاراتها على هذه المناطق، وخاصه منطقه الهبيط التي تعرضت لعدد كبير جدا من الغارات الجويه. في حين شهدت بلده الفطيره قصف بالبراميل المتفجره استهدف الاحياء السكنيه في البلده، اسفر عن وقوع شهيده امراه وعدة إصابات بين المدنيين. بلدة معارف حرمة كان لها نصيب أيضا من قصف ميليشيا أسد الطائفية بالبراميل المتفجرة والصواريخ من الطائرات الحربية، في حين كانت بلدة كفر المتسجنة في ريف إدلب الجنوبي تتعرض للقصف أيضا بالطائرات الحربية والمروحية، الأمر الذي أسفر عن وقوع إصابات وضحايا بين المدنيين ودمار في منازل المدنيين وممتلكاتهم. مناطق أرمناية وعابدين أيضا كان لها نصيب بالقصف من طائرات النظام الحربية، في حين شهدت منطقة الركاية مناطق الركاية تصهين أيضا قصف مماثل من الطائرات الحربية والمروحية. حقيقة بالطبع إحصاء كل المناطق التي تعرضت للقصف بالطائرات الحربية والمروحية كون العدد كبير جدا، وأن هذه المناطق أو كافة مناطق الجنوب ومناطق الزاوية هي عرضة للقصف في كل لحظة. هذا القصف
صحيح. طيب محمد، يعني في ظل تعرض هذه المناطق لقصف مستمر، كيف تبدو الأوضاع الإنسانية في تلك المناطق؟ إلى أين يتجه الأهالي في ظل استمرار هذه الغارات؟
نعم أحلام، سبب وكثافة القصف من قبل هذه الطائرات الذي يستهدف الأماكن المدنية ويستهدف الأسواق.
So it's just, if the lid has been blown off on Esau, Edom, and their lies saying that, these people are peaceful protesters and that the Syrian Arab army is just shooting at protesters. If this doesn't prove it, I don't know what does. I mean, that lie, that narrative, I think that we have dissolved it. And believe it or not, most of the people that have been reporting on this have been other Edomites, exposing the mainstream. Even Rick Wiles is speaking against the Zionists, and he's a big-time Christian, and he's speaking against Zionism. If you hadn't caught the video that Brother Malcolm brought up a few days ago, man, yeah, man, everybody knows that these Zionists are not the real Jews. And just constant war here, because for the Greater Israel Project, that is the bastards dwelling in Ashdod is the reason for these wars, at least the flock, drawing them out.
نعم، شكرا جزيلا لك محمد الفيصل مراسل أورينت نيوز، كنت معنا من إدلب.
Yep, Hama Idlib. And this is some talks, and this is a really interesting one. United States is looking to reimburse the Taliban, which is Al-Qaeda, which is ISIS, which are all these terror groups that are in Syria now that have destabilized Libya, Iraq, pretty much the Middle East, pretty much all of it. Well, they're looking to reimburse it. Check this article out, and this was on RT. Actually, this is a video.
Earlier this year, the Trump administration asked Congress for funds to reimburse the Taliban for expenses the group incurred during peace talks. Those expenses include transportation, lodging, and food. Watching the Hawks host Tyrell Ventura and Tabitha Wallace say most Americans are for peace in Afghanistan. However, if Congress gives the Trump administration the green light, they say this move could be crossing the line. Take a look.
everybody wants peace. Like we all want, we all want peace in Afghanistan.
Does everyone really want peace? I'm sorry. I mean, I don't mean to be a jerk, but if Meghan McCain can do it, why can't I? Do we all really want peace? Is that what everybody's looking for? Because I think that's kind of like not true at all. We're literally paying the Ubers for the Taliban to come down and talk peace.
That's kind of the ridiculousness of it, isn't it? Because it's like, what's their incentive to come to the table beyond that? Oh, you're going to pay us to be there? Great.
Literally, our entire foreign policy for 8+ years, and going back into even the Trump administration, has been bags full of cash to warlords or or terrorist groups to beat up the other people that we don't like, that we all agree on. It doesn't work. So I'm not sure anybody, but I think people are smart enough to know that that's not intended to work.
See how these Edomites are speaking against the government? It's a beautiful thing. You got kingdom against kingdom here, You got Esau's kingdom disagreeing. Listen to that sarcasm, man. Because, you should be very sarcastic, because everything that you fucking liars say, you do the opposite. And, the sarcasm is out there, and I think people just wake up and smell the bullshit. Wait a minute, isn't that a song? Yeah, it is a song. It's on a Roger Waters album, and it was called Smell the Roses, man. It just, like I said, if you hadn't caught the Roger Waters Less Than Them tour, man, he just totally is going off on the Trump administration and everything, And I like it. I like it when music can actually expose things, And that's another thing, is... man, you just got Esau divided against Esau. Satan is divided against Satan, and it's a beautiful thing.
They are. In fact, the House of Representatives Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense, that's a lot, recently passed a bill barring the U.S. government from using money to pay for the expenses of Taliban members taking part in the peace talks with the United States, unless the talks include members of the Afghan government directly, not like, small group versus small group, and did not restrict the participation of women in the talks. So as you can see, the legislature is starting to say, wait, this is a little ridiculous that we're paying them to come over here and sit at the table. If we are going to do something like this, then there's got to be a whole lot of parameters put in place and milestones and goals they have to meet in order to get their, food and lodging reimbursed just for sitting down at the peace table.
I'm sorry, not war. That's what you should come to the peace table for. And I don't understand why this is literally, we're paying to have them flown somewhere else to sit and have these talks. Again, why is it the only way they can get peace is with 5-star hotels? And
that is the good question.
It doesn't make any sense to me. We spent millions and millions and millions of dollars, but the idea that now we're going to Congress and saying, hey, well, we have even less money for vets, even we have less money for children, for education, for everything else. Let's make sure we can sit down at the table with the Taliban. But keep in mind, you're a traitor to this country, and you're a traitor to the U.S. if you sit down and have discussions with Assad, if you sit down with Putin. But hey, the Taliban's okay. We'll even get your Ubers for you. So when you say, don't we all want peace? No, I don't think all of us around here want peace. I don't think so. This isn't how you get peace in a region.
No, it's not. Anytime you influence...
And that's just what this devil does. He always says that they want peace. But really, he's a man of war. Look at what they did to us when they took down our tribes, man, especially Gad, They said that they wanted to make peace, If you believe the bullshit Thanksgiving story, about how they all sat down at the table and they had Thanksgiving, even if you believe that, he soon broke that deal, even if that is the real story. They still broke it. Trail of Tears. You can start talking about some of these things, man. He always says he wants to have peace, but war was in his heart. He was a murderer from the beginning. And that's who this devil is. And now that, pretty much we're seeing that, it's being reflected. And you can tell the sarcasm there, You want peace, but yet you're bringing all these warmongers. Oh, but it's, but we can't talk to Bashar al-Assad. We can't talk to, Rouhani. No. Just as long as you talk to terrorist groups, that's okay. You see how hypocritical that is?
Time you're dumping money in, like you say, Tom, just to get people to sit down and talk peace, that's not finding peace. You ain't gonna find peace that way. You're gonna get people to take the money and run, essentially.
Right, and that's what they've been doing. You can catch watching the Hawks Monday through Friday at 6 p.m.
So, just like everything else, you see how hypocritical Esau is? Okay, more wars and rumors of wars, since we know that the U.S. funds terrorism. And the ones that are against the terrorists that have actually been a guard unto them, aside from Magog, has been Persia. Persia, all of them. And pretty much, man, they've been protecting the region from these terrorist groups, been helping Assad fight the terrorists. Surprisingly, yeah, the Persians. That's why it's called the Persian Gulf. Well, nonetheless, though, this thing like I showed at the beginning, of course, the handlers are telling Trump, man, just calm down a little bit, Well, I really don't want this or that. Yeah, right. No, man, war is in his heart, and they're ready to fight back. The weak are now saying they are strong. They are ready.
Iran is trying to put out a response in regards to the United States sending aircraft carriers, Abraham Lincoln, other vessels, into the region near Iran, and Iran has made some statements now, and this is coming from Pentagon officials. General Morteza Korbani, which is an advisor to Iran's military command, put out these statements, I guess, toward Washington, saying that if they commit the slightest stupidity, they will send the ships to the bottom of the sea along with their crew and their planes. Now, of course, here on the world stage, the back and forth, the pointing the finger, and the constant threat of war. We have heard about the threat of Iran and potential war with Iran for years. Now, they're saying that they're blaming them officially for the sabotage on the Saudi Arabian pipelines and stuff connected with that. And apparently, the U.S. has deployed the USS McFaul, the USS Gonzales, the USS Mason, all to the Persian Gulf, into the area of the Strait of Hormuz. And what one of these senior officials, I guess, out of Iran is saying is that if they make a move, they can sink them with one of their missiles or a new secret weapon. So they are talking like they have this ace up their sleeve to be able to use on America if anything was to go down. But all I can help but feel here is that this is another one of those events being primed that will lead to a major escalation. And as we've seen, the United States has been going into area after area, doing whatever it wants. It has hit a bit of a roadblock in terms of Venezuela here recently, but then again, they're not talking about it. Out of sight, out of mind, there's still chaos unfolding in the streets of Venezuela. But it's just not going down in the way that they like it as of right now. But I guarantee you, they're positioning. They are positioning. So, we've yet to see any proof of claims that are being made out here. So as I get more of that information and some proof, I'll share it with you guys. But that is some of the latest here in talks of this and them and their secret weapon and where this could all lead to out here on the world stage, as I always say. But I'm going to leave a link. Make sure to follow me also over here on DLive.
And so you know what's about to happen, that eventually there ain't going to be no talking. They're going to try to invade Iran, and then that'll be the end of it. Which brings me to this other video that Dabu7 also put up, man. That this is what it leads to, the final third woe. So we know that the mark of the beast has to come into effect before this can kick off, which is probably why you're starting to see Trump sort of retract some of the things he said. But nonetheless, though, these are warnings that are coming out. The third woe that cometh quickly.
A United Nations arms official has now declared that nuclear war is closer than it has ever been since World War II. Now, this geopolitical climate we know is divisive right now. And what this is showing is that the globalists are actually telling us that nuclear war could be on the horizon. It could be coming in the offing. And the head of the UN's Institute for Disarmament Research, or UNIDIR, its director, Renata Dwan, said in an interview that the use of nuclear weapons is more likely today than at any time since the U.S. bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan back in 1945, adding that the use of such weapons today would carry a much greater risk than ever before. She goes on to state that I think it's genuinely a call to recognize that this has been somewhat missing in the media coverage in terms of issues, that the risk of nuclear war is particularly high right now, and that these risks of the use of nuclear weapons, for some of the factors that have been pointed out, are higher now than at any time since World War II. Those were her exact statements. Citing the heightened back and forth here between different countries, obviously, Russia sitting counter to the United States in many different sectors, also China, and in many instances, Russia and China together in many of these deals, opposite the United States. And if it was going to come down to big war right now, those are the three biggest players, but you have Israel, the UK, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, other allies of the United States that are being armed as we speak, like Saudi Arabia, in terms of the whole thing going on with Iran out here on the world stage. And it seems like they are inching things closer and closer to that type of environment. Definitely setting the stage for some type of event. But just wanted to touch on this warning that was put out by the UN chief here. I'm going to leave a link. You guys can read into the details of what all was said here. Make sure to follow me over here on D.
Which, like everything else, D-Live is a website that he has set up so you can watch the videos just like what I do with Press TV. Nonetheless, though, yeah, you know that this thing's going to end in a nuclear war, but the other things have to pass first, and we're going to get into that. But we're going to still talk about World War III because it's the wars and rumors of wars parts. Then we'll get into famine and pestilence and earthquakes, right? I mean, isn't that the sequence of things as Yahushua told us? And this video was brought to you by another brother, and he's just going to go in on it about World War III.
Shalom, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak Kodash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and as always, giving a sincere shalom to the house of David the elect. All right, I'm the brother Zion, and pretty much got another video for you brothers, and it's entitled, "This is what a nuclear war would actually look like." And it's from Vice News, and this was updated, what did it say? March 21st, 2017. All right, but this video is very, very key because you have a guy, he's somewhat of a nuclear missile expert, and he goes into how America and Russia could be the war to end all wars. He basically said that will be the war to wipe out humanity. Those were his exact words, you know. But we all know the elect, all right, shall be delivered from these plagues, all right, and these pains and sorrows. But this Edomite pretty much was spot on, man. You know, he's pretty much spot on. And you don't really see a lot of Edomites going into these type of things and actually telling the truth about it. Now, this guy was saying that the nuclear war between Russia and America could happen within the next 10 years. Now, of course, we're men of the Lord, and, you know, we damn sure don't want to be here another 10 years. You know, we praying that this thing pops off yesterday, you know. But this Edomite, man, I'm gonna let him do the talking as far as these nuclear missiles go, and then we'll get into the scriptures, man.
So that's Brother Zion from GMS Great Waters 3. You know, now that I know who he is, so anyhow, let's just continue on.
But Perry's not comforted by better odds.
We have the possibility of a regional nuclear war between Pakistan and India, for example, even if they use only half of their nuclear arsenal. those bombs would put enough smoke in the air and enough dust in the air. That weapon settled in the stratosphere, then distribute itself around the planet, would block the rays of the sun.
And that's what those nukes are going to do. You heard that? He said these nukes can block the rays of the sun. All right?
And I was going to add to that, Slovak, but keep in mind on 9/11 when they used suitcase nuke bombs, the sun was blotted out, during that false flag 9/11 thing. Suitcase bombs, which if you go back to the Illuminati card game, it said terrorist nuke. That's what it said, so they had plans to do that. And that Illuminati card game was made back in 1992, I believe. So that's about maybe 10 years before 9/11.
Exactly right on that, man.
Years to come. There'll be millions of people die from that alone.
That's a horrific vision. Does it keep you up at night?
The one that really keeps me up at night is the one which is not as probable. And that is that somehow Russia and the United States blunder into a nuclear war. An all-out general nuclear war between the United States and Russia would mean no less than the end of civilization. That's not being dramatic. That's not being hyperbolic. That's just what would happen.
He's 100% right on that, man. He's 100% right on that. Okay? That's the war to end all wars, man. And he knows that. He knows that, all right?
Today, Russia and the U.S. have 90% of the world's remaining nukes, many of them old and prone to error and false alarm. And they're in the hands of leaders who Perry sees as having cavalier attitudes about their potential. Are there things you see with President Trump?
Now let's run that back a little bit.
It's not being dramatic. That's not being hyperbolic. That's just what would happen. A nuclear war between the United States and Russia would mean no less than the end of civilization. And that is that somehow Russia and the United States blunder into a nuclear war. An all-out general nuclear war between the United States and Russia would mean no less than the end of civilization. That's not being dramatic. That's not being hyperbolic. That's just what would happen.
Today.
So he understands that if Russia and America, all right, if they ever go at it, which will happen because it's biblical prophecy, if they ever go at it, that's the war to end all wars, man. And that's what we teach. But you Christians, you Christians, all right, you're not going to teach that because the spirit of prophecy is not in you, man. You got some Israelite groups that's not even teaching that, man. All right? That's why we focus on prophecy here at Great Millstone, man. And that's why we're the most hated group. Plain and simple, man.
Russia and the U.S. have 90% of the world's remaining nukes, many of them old and prone to error and false alarm. And they're in the hands of leaders who Perry sees as having cavalier attitudes about their potential.
Now, the Edomite interviewing the guy said they have a lot of old missiles and they're prone to error and etc. But this is a whole new age of technology, man. So the missiles that they do have, all right, Russia, America, those missiles are ready to be fired off, man, because we're living in that time. There's a lot of new missiles with new technology, man. See, Esau, he don't want this thing to happen, man, because I'm talking about you everyday Edomites. You don't want this to happen because you know that's the end of your ass, man. But your elites know that it's going to take place. Okay? Because the elites know that the Bible is real, man. They know.
Are there things you see with President Trump that concern you?
Yes. I think, unlike President Obama, he doesn't have a clear understanding of what the nuclear issues are and what the nuclear dangers are. Secondly, I think he's demonstrated an impulsive temperament. The first of them is solvable. We can learn more if he cares to do it. The temperament issue, I'm afraid, is just there.
And that's why, at the age of almost 90, you're here in Mexico City and not on a golf course.
Exactly right. One person can only do so much, and I think I can do more than most.
You can scare us better than most.
I can scare you.
Now, Now, what this Edomite does is which he could be a Jake, man. You never know, man. But, you know, he's an Edomite, you know, according to, he looks like an Edomite, man. But, but what he does is he goes around the world and he travels and he checks out different nukes, and he, you know, he sits down with different world leaders. And, like it said, man, it pretty much keeps him up at night because he know that this can pop off at any time, man. All right, this is Jeremiah 50:22. It says, "A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" All right, because you got a lot of proud-ass Edomites that's always on these comment boards, man. When you read some of these comments, which I didn't read any of these, but when you read some of these comments, these Edomites in America, man, they don't believe this place is going to ever go down. All right? They don't believe this place will ever go down. That's the pride of the so-called white man. That's why the scriptures say the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. But you Edomites, you got to understand, the ancient Roman Empire didn't think they were going to go down. All right? The Greeks didn't think they were going to go down. When Egypt was in power, the Egyptians, they didn't think they were going to go down. All those kingdoms fell, man. The Medo-Persian Empire, the Babylonians, they all fell. All right? And America is going to be no different. It's going to fall, man. That's why the scriptures say Babylon is fallen. It's fallen. Okay? You can't upset the prophecy. It says, verse 24, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. The Lord hath opened his armory, and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans." Okay? In America is the modern day land of the Chaldeans. America is the modern day Egypt. Okay? America is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. America's all these kingdoms in the past wrapped up in one, man. And that's why her judgment is going to be so harsh. Okay? Verse 29. It says, "Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her. For she hath been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud." And that's you so-called white people, you red Hebrew Edomites. You on a comment board. You know, I read one comment that it was a video about the Russian missiles, and you had these Edomites on the comment board saying, quote unquote, "Oh yeah, Russia, that's cute, but you have nothing on America." You know, they were basically putting smiling emojis and laughing. That's why the scriptures describe you as thou, oh thou most proud. But the Lord is going to have a rude awakening for your asses, man. It says, "Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord power of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. For I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him." All right? And the fire is going to come from these nukes, man, that this guy was talking about. All right? And you heard what he said, man. And this guy is a quote-unquote nuke expert, man. Let's play it one more time, then we'll get out of here, close it up. The time is coming, man.
An all-out general nuclear war between the United States and Russia would mean no less than the end of civilization. That's not being dramatic. That's not being hyperbolic. That's just what would happen.
That's not being dramatic. See, when we teach that, people say, "You guys are dramatic. You guys are dramatic, man." That's not going to happen. Not in our lifetime. That's the spirit that these people are in, man. But little do they know, this thing is about to go down, man. All right, so I just wanted to bring that quick little video out for you brothers. Hopefully this was edifying. All praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai again. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the elect. I'll see you brothers in the next.
Now, on to the next part. Famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. As the brother Zion had brought it out about how these proud red Hebrew Edomites, don't think this place will go down. And you got 2/3 of the people as well that don't think it'll go down. Or they just think that they're not going to have to endure Jacob's trouble. Well, they are sadly mistaken to think it's going to go down that easily. Of course, Esau's got to make it dramatical. But you don't hear music like this when you see the devastation and the wreckage in Syria. Fuck all you red Hebrew Edomites. Fuck all of you. You deserve this. We rejoice in your downfall. If I would have known about this music, I might have played it with the Syria news. Slovak. But you see how Esau's got to, dramatize it. And this one happened to the northern kingdom. This is eastern Peru, which is the tribe of Asher. And this is an earthquake that they just had. Notice they don't get the music. Oh, only the red Hebrew Edomites get the music. Well, hold on a second. Maybe I can fix that. So you notice, though, that these red Hebrew Edomites, they got to play music like this for stuff that happens to them. But there's no sympathy for what they've done to others, And here's Esau's witchcraft to try to get you to take the mark, which is what's going to kick off everything into World War III, because once this mark is made mandatory, that's the end of it. But here is how they use their witchcraft, their media, to get you interested in taking it.
Microchips implanted in human bodies could transform the way we tackle many everyday tasks. Some workers in Sweden are already developing and volunteering to have chips injected into their hands. The technology can make some tasks easier and reduce the amount of personal items employees
you
need
want
to carry.
thermonuclear war,
Looks at
you'll
the
have it.
controversial trend
You take
and
this
how it
shit.
could put your privacy at risk.
In a Stockholm business complex, employees gain access not with key cards, but with a wave of a hand.
This is something that you can use just like a key badge.
At a recent tech conference, Hannes Schoblat explained how a microchip implanted in his hand makes his life easier. It replaces all the keys and cards that used to clutter his pockets.
I use this many times a day. For example, to unlock my smartphone, to open the door to my office.
Schoblat calls himself a biohacker.
We biohackers, we think that the human body is a good start, but there is certainly room for improvement.
The first step in that improvement is getting a microchip about the size of a grain of rice slipped under the skin. Suddenly, the touch of a hand is enough to tell the office printer, this is an authorized user.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time it felt very modern.
The microchips are radio frequency identification tags, the same technology widely used in things like key cards. The chips have been implanted in animals for years to help identify lost pets. Now the technology is moving to humans. A tech startup called Dangerous Things has sold tens of thousands of implant kits for humans, some to tech companies in Europe. Showblood even organizes implant parties where people can bond over getting chipped together.
I love gadgets, and now I kind of feel like I'm a gadget myself.
Even a car door can be tweaked to open with a touch, but each touch leaves a digital footprint, and that can compromise privacy.
It also seems to be one thing if retailers can track me on my phone to see if they can get me to buy some socks or underwear. It's a different thing if my employer can see where I am, see what I'm doing when I'm off the job.
This is serious stuff. We're talking about a nonstop potential connection to my body. I can't turn it off. I can't put it away. It's in me. That's a big problem.
Even a dedicated biohacker has concerns.
It's very easy to hack a chip implant. So my advice is don't put your life secrets on a chip implant.
Somebody put an implant inside me. I found it this morning.
Back in 2004, the Manchurian Candidate suggested a future where humans are chipped and controlled. We have been warned.
It's about educating the people and giving every person the tools, not only how to use the technology, but more importantly, when it's being used against you.
But biohackers also predict the next generation of chips will save lives by monitoring health and fitness. For now, being chipped means never having to say you're sorry you forgot your key card. For CBS This Morning, John Blackstone, San Francisco.
I'm fascinated by this. I've always thought it was the future, that it would carry your medical records, that it could track your fitness, that you could buy your groceries with it. Right, like an Apple Pay or something.
I'm all in.
Yeah. I'm skeptical. I'm scared of becoming a cyborg, but if you guys go first, I'll join you.
And that's just it. What did Apostle Tahar declare? This being the year Karagma, this would be the year that Esau, Edom, pushes the Karagma, pushes you to get the implant. And this video is from Brother Malcolm. We've been pushing that the mark of the beast is the microchip. Well, this is another video that he just put up recently. I'm not sure this is on the subject, but nonetheless, though, it's still about Esau, Edom, and the fact that this kingdom's going down. And for all that does take the microchip, you're going down with Esau. Because you got to remember, these scriptures are written to us, the real Hebrew Israelites. Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and the confusion faced to be among us. Such as myself, Though I look like the other nations, I still go back to being one of the 12 tribes, being the tribe of Yahudah. So, nonetheless, though, being partakers in this and taking that mark, man, you'll be judged one and the same with these red Hebrew Edomites.
Shalom. Call hello, Yahweh Bashem El Shai Bashem Rekak Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the great one stone. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that are doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the confusion of face, joined unto our ranks. Alright? To the hopeful elect, the Akwak that are listening and learning. To them I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson. In truth, the name of the video that I'm about to profile is called Jax Brought Out the True Spirit of Esau, What They Really Think About You, Video Response. Alright? And this is from a man who through the Spirit, now that I've watched this video twice, through the Spirit, I believe that this man truly is confusion of face. Simply because Esau is clean contrary to our ways. This man happens to be from a town where I have a ton of family members. I have a deep history in that town, even though I haven't really spent much time there, in the past, over the last 30 years or so. All right, actually even longer than that. All right, and in the town that he's in Jackson, my family was very well known, and my uncle was probably the most famous person in the history of the city of Jackson. Probably one of the most famous people, so-called someone of a melanated Negro descent. Even though my uncle wasn't a Negro, he definitely an Israelite. But He's probably the most famous individual to come out of the city of Jackson. And I find it sad that with the amount of men that was in my family, when my grandfather died, my family was really large on my father's side. All right, and there's a reason for me telling this story, because it's related to what he's going to go into. And when my grandfather died, out of his 10 children, he actually had 12, 2 died. And that was common 60 years ago, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 90 years ago. A lot of families were that way, especially in the South. But when he passed away, there was 103 grandchildren and 102 great-grandchildren. And more than half of those were men. And not one of my family members is in the Mississippi camp, is in the Jackson camp, that I know of. For all I know, I might get down there with the brothers and start talking to them and find out one of them is actually, which wouldn't be far off. But that's where this man is hailing from, and he actually says in the video he prefers to be around Negroes and not white people anyway. And the man reads the Bible and defends the Bible. And defends the station of the Hebrew Israelites. And comes against Esau, Edom, and what they do. So without any further ado, let's let this video play so that I can bring out the scriptures and give a commentary on some of his statements.
Sorry about that. Okay, so this is going to be a video response to the Jax Hebrew Israelite, white people hating on it. Video response to that. I'll try to post the description in the link and whatnot. Anyhow, look, so check this out. Not all white people are fully awake. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to put it out there. Most of you people are just full on dead asleep. Now, just to clarify where I'm coming from, give you a little background on myself. As you can tell, I'm white.
Congregation of the dead, all right? Meaning when a person does not know who they are, you're dead, okay? But he's going to make that clear about what whiteness is and how he is white, but he's not white.
Definitely look like Esau, definitely look like Edomite and whatnot. And it's very well possible that I do come from that bloodline, but the truth be told, in reality, we come from the same source, the same seed. We all come from Abraham, which makes you Hebrew Israelites my brothers.
And we've been telling you that for a very long time. That's in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter. It reads, and this is totally organic. I got a few scriptures that I jotted down, but I haven't brought out one of them yet. Because I was waiting for him to say specific things. So, but now that he said this is Hebrews, Salakia, Genesis 25, and I'm going to start at verse 19. And it says, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son, begot Isaac. These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years when he took Rebekah, 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan, the sister of Laban the Syrian. All right, proving that your lineage is through your father and not your mother. Okay? And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to intrigue of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. All right, so it made it clear that there will be 2 different nations in your womb. They will be separated from birth. And whichever one came out first would be the servant to the younger. All right? And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. Look on the screen. And it's nice that there's a white backdrop, because you can clearly see his skin is not white. All right? The first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. And later his name got changed to Edom, which means red. That was his nickname. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. So what he just admitted in the first few minutes of the video is that he knows that Negroes are not African. And that means that the so-called white man has lied. This is Job 14th chapter, the 13th chapter, and the fourth verse. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. So he just said that the so-called black man is his brethren, or so-called Negroes. All right? He just admitted that he knows that they are not African. All right? Because the so-called white man, the self-prescribed white man, Esau, Edom, falsely put that label upon them, knowing that they were refugees in Africa from the land of Israel. That's why the other dark races, the Africans, the real Africans, so-called, enslaved and sold Jacob into slavery, fulfilling prophecy.
Now, I was born in Texas, raised in Mississippi, real close to Jackson. Jackson's heavily populated. Probably more black people live in Jackson than they do white people. And for some reason, white people don't really want to come here, which is fine with me. I don't like being around you guys anyways. To be honest, I feel more comfortable in the hood than I do out there in the woods. Just the way it is. I think it's
Esau is never going to be comfortable around Jacob. That's the first sign, or one of many.
Because of what I know. Either way, the thing is, the point I'm trying to make is that everything our history is taught to us is a lie. Everything we think we know and everything we think we believe is a lie. Every bit of it. At the end of the day, you got to use common sense, use your mind, wake yourself up, think about it. His story. It's his story. Whose story? Who's the one telling the story? It's Esau's story. So at the end of the day, everything in history is his story. Now, if you want to know true, actual history minus the his story, then you need to open your Bibles and take a look at it. Because in the Bible, it's going to tell you straight up and real clear. It's going to be real straightforward and to the point. There is no reading the Bible and thinking of it and looking at it and thinking that, I can just interpret it whichever way I want to.
And he's got a solid point there. One of the things that they don't acknowledge in the churches and when they're teaching the Bible in these false theologian based churches and theology schools, theologian schools, is this scripture here. This is Tobit 13:3. Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. So the Israelites got scattered among all the heathen. All right, and among Edom, and a lot of Israelites look like Edom. Point blank. Period. And BOIs are chooking and folding their arms and had throwing a bitch fit, but that's a fact. Scriptures in Isaiah clearly says that he hid Judah among Moab. All right. He hid the seed of Judah among Moab. So that means there's a lot of so-called Chinese that are actually Israelites. Hell, just look at the way a lot of them, a lot of the Ammon and Moab are into breakdancing, b-boying, rapping, singing, R&B, that Korean R&B scene, the Korean rap scene, the Korean b-boy scene. All right? You can't get around these things, man. You people that are hung up on color, you're unlearned and just plain stupid. You fucking stupid.
Think about how much sense that makes when you think of it in terms of other books. For example, The Notebook. Everybody, well, not necessarily everybody. The white people, you love The Notebook. Now, you go read The Notebook, or you go read 50 Shades of Grey, and no matter how many of you read it, no matter how many ways you read it, it's always going to be interpreted the exact same way. You're never going to read it and interpret it any other way than exactly the way it's written. Now, why in the world would you take the most valuable, most pleasant, most knowledgeable piece of information that's ever been written and think that you can interpret it any daggone way you want? The truth.
Exactly. You can listen to The Notebook, read The Notebook, watch the movie The Notebook. All the characters are who they are. When it comes to the personal pronouns, the she, the he, the they, you have no problem. Then you get to the Bible and it says, but God loved Jacob and hated Esau, and all of a sudden you want to make that not be so. When it says Esau has no salvation, you want to not make that not be so. When it says Esau is the end of the world, you want to make that not be so. You can't interpret it the way you want to. Just like he said, 50 Shades of Grey, The Notebook. All right? The characters are the characters. You can't interpret it. You know, you got all these degrees and all this intelligence, and then when it comes down to the like he said, the most important book ever written, all of a sudden you lose your goddamn mind and you don't know what a noun and a pronoun is. And all of a sudden you want to make nouns and pronouns relate to everyone instead of the subject matters that they're referring to.
Is you can't. And the reason why you can't is because it's not meant to be read and interpreted any way you want. It's meant to be read line upon line, precept upon precept, which means for all you Bible thumpers.
So this is someone who's clearly been watching, hanging out, or being around Hebrew Israelites, because you do not hear white evangelicals, so-called, talk about precept upon precept, line upon line. That is only something that you will hear from the mouth of someone who has learned through the authority of Yahweh Shai. All right, he will say Yah, all right, which is in the Bible, and it is a shorthand version of the Lord's name, but it's not, you know, the full name. The name is Yahweh. All right, and he also uttered the name Yeshua, which is a Yiddish, the false way, the broken Germanic Yiddish-based Hebrew that is used by Esau, Edom today, not the actual biblical Hebrew as they call it in the land of Israel. The Israelis refer to the Paleo as biblical Hebrew. They don't use that.
Southern Bible Belt, Bible thumpers, all you Christian wannabes and everybody else that thinks you know something about anything, the truth is you don't know jack, and you don't know jacks. And the reason you don't know jacks is because you don't know the Bible through and through. You got to read that thing from the beginning to the end.
And he's referring to the character Jax in the game, who went back and ended and stopped slavery from happening. All right, that's what this whole video, this rant was about Esau, Edom, and how that brought out their true nature. And this was his response.
Genesis to Revelation. If you don't read the beginning, how in the world can you understand the end? Why in the world would you start in Matthew all the way?
And all the promises in Genesis, all the way up to the end, was to the Israelites, to Jacob, not Esau, Edom. And not all people, not all the other races. To our people scattered among them, that he's going to pull back out of them in the end of days and the latter days. Yes, but to an actual Edomite or actual Moabite, no.
Way down there to the end of the book and think that you have some type of comprehension and understanding of the reality of what's going on in that book. You wouldn't pick up 50 Shades of Grey, the third book, and start reading chapter 5 or chapter 14 and assume that you know everything there is to know about all the rest of the books. That makes absolutely no sense. Now, the thing is, black people, white people, those are terms created by Esau. Now, I don't like calling Esau the devil, but I will say this. Esau definitely serves the devil. He has served the devil since the beginning of his time. And it goes back, way back, even back beyond and before him.
Well, Esau is the devil. All right, devil just simply meaning deceiver. There's a difference between the angelic force who controls the left-hand side, which is Satan. All right, and Esau. But just like the Israelites are the counterparts to our king, Yahushua, who sits on the right-hand side of the Father, the Edomites are the counterpart and representation of Satan on earth, as the Israelites are representation of Yahushua on earth. As simple as that. And that's why in Isaiah it reads the way it does when you get to the 14th chapter. Let's grab that. And the 12th verse, starting at verse 12. And it reads, "How have thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?" All right? Because Esau told his history. He put a Greek word where it was supposed to be a Hebrew word. It was supposed to say, Satan. All right? Not Lucifer. All right? Because that devil, that deceiver, is Esau, Edom. All right? "How have thou fallen from heaven," meaning rulership, "O Lucifer, son of the morning? How have thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations?" And Esau, through his policy, has weakened the nation. All right? With his jacked up economy, taking away gold and pushing the petrodollar, pushing the fiat currency, and look at the trade wars and the devastation which has been done to the earth, both economically and environmentally, under the rulership of Esau, Edom. He's weakened the nations. "For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into the heaven and will exalt my throne above the stars of power. I will sit upon the mount of the congregations in the sides of the north." So Esau has declared himself as God. All right, and then the sides of the north is talking about North America. When you get to the UN, who's the number one nation and ruling that over that whole thing? Esau, Edom, mainly the ones here in America. All right? "I will sit above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." He's definitely trying to accomplish that when he started flying with his space stations and things of that nature, with his medicine, his technology, which most of that technology was created by Jake, but Esau puts his name on it and hides that fact in most cases. All right? It says, "Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell," to a hellish condition, and that's what's happening. You're witnessing the fall of America, the destruction. "To the sides of the pit, and they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee." So when you give that squinting, narrow, dirty look, all right, saying, "Is this the man?" So we're going to subject matter, noun and pronouns. Lucifer was the subject matter, the noun, and then man was the pronoun. Is this the man? Esau. Okay? "That they say that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble and did shake kingdoms?" And he did. He made the earth tremble, going all the way back to Alexander. And he shook kingdoms all the way up until now. The dropping of Fat Boy and Little Man. Okay? And Esau, Edom is exposed. Okay? 2 more scriptures. This is Ezra, the 9th chapter. The point is in the 7th verse. It says, since you can read 1 through 7, all right? But the point is in the 7th verse, because 1 through 7 gives you the action on how the Israelites were mixing and mingling with these heathen nations, and they look different as a result of it. So once again, you can't read that and then determine something else, that they just had only a confused look on their face. No, it was confusing and looking at them, because now they look different as well. All right? So it has a multi-meaning, because you have those arguments. So they were confused, and also was confusing to look upon them, because now they look different. Israelites had very distinctive looks about them. You could tell people in the ancient world their family lines just by the way that they looked. Just like with my same said family down there in Jackson, man. Right, which my forefather my grandfather migrated to Jackson from Yazoo. All right? So that one of the elders that I learned under many years ago, his father, who a lot of people kept saying that we looked alike. And through conversation, we when I met him in person, found out that we were related. And that our father was from the same place. All right? Which is a place, if you know anything about John Horse, who led the Black Seminoles and the Seminoles down into Mexico. And they even gave them their own plot of land down there. You can look that history up. John Horse became a general in the Mexican army and fought against these devils here in America with the Mexican army, and took many of our people down there. But during that process, many of us got left behind. And Yazoo City was one of those places where that happened, because John Horse settled there for a while on his way to Mexico. But anyway, this is Ezra 9 and 7. Since the days of our fathers have we been in great trespass unto this day, and for our iniquities we our kings and our priests been delivered into the hands of kings of the lands, to the sword and to captivity. So we were delivered into other lands, and what was happening in those lands? We were being raped, and we were also willingly making children with the heathen. Facts. And now priests have been delivered into the hands of kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, to the spoil, and to the confusion of face, as it is to this day. All right? So we were confused and ashamed, but we were also confused and look. Point blank, period. All right? Point blank, period. Let me check one more precept just to see if I should read that or not. Actually, I'm going to let it go at that, because I'm looking at the time and this camera will cut off. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakar Wa Abba Abba.
And I'm just going to continue from here because the author of confusion, Esau, Edom, that is Babylon, because Babylon means confusion, well, would have you believe that this war is being fought over religion, which we know that Esau, Edom, via the Roman Catholic Church, controls religion. Well, this is getting into the third woe. And so they will have you believe, because Arab means mixed race, and I'll get some definitions on that as well. But nonetheless, though, Shia versus Sunni, they want you to believe that this third woe that's coming quickly has to do with Islam. Well, some of it, the belief system which Esau controls it via the Roman Catholic Church, will have you believe that this war is being fought over Shia and Sunni Muslims, right? So I'm just going to read a little bit of this. Shia and Sunni Islam are two major denominations of Islam. They choose sides following the death of the Islamic prophet Muhammad in AD 632. A dispute over succession to the Islamic prophet Muhammad as a caliph of the Islamic community spread across various parts of the world, which led to the Battle of Jamal and Battle of Siffin. The dispute intensified greatly after the Battle of Karbala, in which Hussein ibn Ali and his household were killed by the ruling Umayyad Caliph Yazid, and the outcry for revenge divided the early Islamic community, which is known today as Islamic Schism, to differ with Christian Schism that happened later. So again, this is the devil fucking popping up with his bullshit. Anyhow, what they want you to believe, though, is that because even Albert Pike had projected this, that it would be, fought over religion, right? The present demographic breakdown between the two denominations is difficult to access and varies by source, but a good approximation is that 85% of the world's Muslim are Sunni and 15% are Shia Muslims. And with most Shiites belongings to Twelver tradition, and the rest divided between many other groups, Sunnis are a major part in most Muslim communities in Southeast Asia, China, Southeast Asia, Africa, and part of the Arab world, which Arab, if you get into it, means mixed race. Shia makes up the majority of the citizen population in Iraq, Bahrain, Lebanon, Iran, Azerbaijan, as well as being a politically significant minority in Pakistan, Syria, Yemen, and Kuwait. So again, you know, what this is, though, is that Esau's been controlling this thing via proxy. Let's check this out. In recent years, Sunni-Shia relations have been increasingly marked by conflict, particularly the Iran-Saudi Arabia proxy conflict. Sectarian violence persists to this day from Pakistan to Yemen and is a major element of friction throughout the Middle East and South Asia. Tensions between the communities have intensified during power struggles such as the Bahraini uprising, the Iraq War, and what they like you to believe, the Syrian civil war. But we know that it's really Esau funded the terrorist groups, and the formation of the self-styled Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, better known as ISIS, that has launched a genocide against Shias. You see how this is being funded by yours truly, Amalek, at least their flock drawing them out, because we know who ISIS is. And this is a definition right there on Wikipedia. Now let's get into the definition of Arab. Now you and I both know, though, that what had happened, though, is that Amalek pretty much is Gomer, as well as many others, and their whole faith is based upon the Khazarian, which broke off into, you know, they either said that they were Muslim or they said that they were Jewish. So here's their definition of Arabs. A population inhabiting the Arab world. They primarily live in the Arab states in Western Asia, North Africa, the Horn of Africa, and Western Indian Ocean islands. They also form a significant diaspora, with Arab communities established around the world. The first mention of Arabs is in the mid-9th century BCE as a tribal people in eastern and northern and southern Syria. I meant to say eastern and southern Syria. And the north of the Arabian Peninsula. The Arabs appear to have under the vassalage of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Nonetheless, though, pretty much, though, let's get into this a little bit. Before the expansion of the Rashidun Caliphate, Arab referred to any of the largely nomadic and settled Semitic people. Notice the word Shemitic, you know. So who's anti-Shemitic? You know, that would be these Amalekites, you know, that, you know, are against pretty much the other ones causing the war. From the Arabian Peninsula, Syrian desert, and northern and lower Mesopotamia. Today, Arab refers to a large number of people whose native regions from the Arab world, due to the spread of Arabs and the Arabic language throughout the region, the early Muslim conquests, and 8 centuries of the subsequent Arabistan, which pretty much, you know, notice how it says, as a definition here, Arabistan is either the conquest and or colonization of a non-Arab area and growing Arabic and Islamic culture influence and on non-Arab populations, causing a language shift by their gradual adoption of the Arabic language and of their incorporation of the culture. Again, you know, Arab means mixed race. But this is how Esau has gotten his way into these places. And as it said in the words, conquest. So they pretty much want you to believe, though, that this war, which is an old war, there's another brother that had really gotten into the Persian Amalek wars and aka Edom wars, and it's been going on for a long time. But nonetheless, though, that's how they got in. Just like how they say that they are the Ashkenazi Jews, they also got in under the current word Arab. You know, let's see if I can just pull out that word again. You know, let's see. Well, anyways, Arab means mixed race. That's what it literally means. Now, let's just get into the Bible, because the author of confusion, Babylon, which means confusion, and the author of it, Esau, Edom, and what's happening now. And I couldn't think of anything better than Jeremiah the prophet, because the Persians, which are known as your Shia, you know, because like I said, this whole thing, the author of confusion, Shia Muslims, well, their origination is Elam, because Elam, most Elamites were in the Persian Empire. So thus, this is what's happening now. The word of the Most High that came unto Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Jehoiada, saying, Thus saith the Most High of hosts, Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might, and upon Elam will I bring the four winds and the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them toward all the winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcast of Elam shall not come. So pretty much, you know, they're broken up into territories. That's why they're in Pakistan, Afghanistan, you know, all these other places, but they're now mixed among Arabs. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies. Notice how I noted that 85% are Sunni, 15% being Shiite, but the hub of it is Iran today. Elam will to be dismayed before their enemies, and before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them. Even my fierce anger, saith the Most High, and I will send the sword after them, which is Esau Edom. Esau Edom always plays the role of the sword, till I have consumed them. And I will set my throne in Elam, and will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith the Most High. But it shall come to pass in the latter days, which we're in now, that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith the Most High. So pretty much even Persia is going to go into captivity after this third woe. Nonetheless, though, just want to kind of bring that out, you know, so that way you have a better understanding, you know, because you'll hear terms like this all the time, Shia versus Sunni. And yeah, religion, this war has nothing to do with religion, by the way, but they want you to believe that it does, that there's this division there. And what it really is just the fact that the captivity has been against Elam for some time, and they've been compressed by these gutter rats, these Khazarians, you know, that are in the guise of being called Arabs, you know, because again, you know, Arab means mixed race. In other words, you know, you got a lot of Amalekites that mated with, you know, Ishmaelite women and are born Amalekites. So, you know, by putting the word up, Arab, mixed race, you can see how they hide among it. Now, that's not saying that all Arabs are non-Ishmaelites. What that means, though, is that their race has been compromised. In other words, not all of them are necessarily Ishmaelites. They could be Amalekites, too. So they invented the word Arab. They invented that because it's a mixed race. You know, that's why, you know, well, just if somebody says they're of Syrian descent, you have to get into that a little bit. Well, okay, well, are they Arab? Or, you know, what are they? You know, because, you know, Syria is a region, you know, but to be Syrian, you know, of the actual Syrian bloodline, that would be, that you would come from Aram. And Aram, which is better known as Sumerian, you know, which are also, you know, pretty much they have been dispersed. I was trying to remember the other term for that. Armenians. And you can see, though, that pretty much, though, a lot of them had fled into Jordan due to this conflict, which was caused by Esau, Edom. Thus, you know, when there's more to this thing, I'm going to read this as well. Therefore, and this is Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 20, therefore hear the counsel of the Most High, that he hath taken against Edom and his purposes, that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of their flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And that's what's happening now, because their greatest enemy of Elam has always been Amalek. You know, the Persian wars with Amalek goes back a long time, and this is going to be pretty much going to, happen within the same hour that, behold, he shall come up and fly as an eagle and spread his wings over Basra, which is America. This is talking about the Most High, Yahushai, and the angels. And at that day, the heart of a mighty man of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs, because, of course, this big, huge cloud is coming over them, and at the same time, they're being blasted by nuclear missiles. And at the same time, it says here in verse 27, I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. In other words, the Syrian kingdom. Therefore her young men shall fall in the streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day. Because the Most High is going to cut it off, saith the Lord of hosts. So he's going to cut it off. And how's that going to be? By thermonuclear destruction, the third woe that cometh quickly. So you can see everything ramping up, as you were not told that Israeli state Amalek, the least of their flock, drawing them out, had attacked Syria over the weekend. But it just happened yesterday. So I hope all this has been edifying, and like everything else, though, I'm just going to keep on teaching until, pretty much occupy until the Most High returns. For that I will say, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash, Barak Dam.